It is 11th class geography, chapter 6 natural hazards and disasters. So, what are natural disasters and hazards in India? We will be discussing only about the natural disasters which affect India. Okay? Not not the entire disasters which are caused by nature because we are studying Indian geography. Okay. So, it was discussed in one of the previous chapters that India is a vast and diverse in terms of its physical and socio-cultural attributes. So, India has a diverse, very India is very diverse country. We have plateaus, uh, mountains, rivers, and many other factors, coastal areas, deserts, and many other factors which make India very diverse. Okay, and physically also, and also socio-cultural attributes, like every other place has a different has a different culture and traditions. It is largely due to its vast geographical area, environmental diversities, and cultural pluralities. Plurala- True pluralities that scholars often described it using two meaningful adjectives, like the Indian subcontinent and the land of unity and diversity. Its vastness in terms of natural attributes combined with its prolonged colonial past, continuing various forms of social discrimination and also equally large population have enhanced its vulnerability to natural disasters. These observations can also be illustrated by focusing on some of the major natural disasters in India. So we will be talking about all the various type of natural disasters in India. First, like earthquake, tsunami, cyclone, landslides, etc. Okay. First is earthquake. Earthquake are by far the most unpredictable and highly destructive of all the natural disasters. Like talking about landslides or cyclone, mostly cyclone, we can somewhat predict, okay, this is going to happen. Matlab, we can predict somewhat. But about earthquake, it is very unpredictable and it is highly destructive. It causes so much of destruction in seconds, in minutes. You have already learned the causes of earthquake in your book. Okay. Earthquake that are of tectonic origin means when it is caused by the plate movement, have proved to be the most devastating, and their area of influence is also quite high. Okay, so there are many types of earthquakes, like the earthquake caused by tectonic plate, caused by volcanic eruptions, by some mining thing, like, and dams construction, reservoirs. So there are many types of earthquakes. Okay, but the tectonic one, in which the plate just moves, these earthquake result from a series of earth movement brought about by a sudden release of energy during the tectonic activities in the earth crust. Okay, so why it happens? Due to the sudden release of energy. As compared to these, the earthquake associated with volcanic eruption, rockfall, landslide subsidence, particularly in mining areas, impounding of dams and reservoirs, etc., have limited area of influence and the scale of damage. It was mentioned in chapter 2 of the book that the Indian plate is moving at a speed of 1 centimeter per year towards the north and northeastern direction, and this movement of plates is being constantly obstructed by the Eurasian plate from the north. So, as we know, uh, in the very starting, all the land masses were connected and it was collectively called Pangea, and the water bodies were called Panthalassa. With time, due to the conventional current from inside the earth, it got the land masses got separated, and it kept on drifting, and the in Indian and Australian plate, and the Indian Australian plate got just drifted, and the Indo Australian plate hit it with the, what we say, Eurasian plate, okay, and the formation on, and therefore the formation of mountain started. So as a result of this, both the plates are said to be locked with each other, resulting in accumulation of energy at different points of time. So, so still the plates is drifting. It is still moving 1 centimeter per year. It is very means it's moving on a very slow rate. Still we are talking, and it's moving. Okay. Excessive accumulation of energy results in building, and due to this, like uh, in the construction of mountains also, the mountains are formed, okay, but the other land masses, just the mountain and the curve which is being formed, it has lot of stress, okay. So excessive accumulation of energy results in building up of stress, which ultimately leads to the breaking up of the lock and sudden release of energy. So the holding of stress and that sudden release causes earthquake along the Himalayan arch. So it is, so in the mountain area, earthquake, it's more earthquake prone, okay, because the land masses are holding stress, and when the stress is released, it results into earthquake. Some of the most vulnerable states are Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttaranchal, Sikkim, and Darjeeling, and subdivision of West Bengal, and all the 7 states of Northeast. Apart from these regions, the central western part of India, particularly Gujarat, in 1819, 1956, and 2001, Maharashtra in 1967 and 1993 have also experienced some severe earthquakes. Earth scientists have found it difficult to explain the occurrence of earthquakes in one of the oldest, most stable and mature landmass of peninsular block for a long time. So we understand that earthquake may occur in the mountainous area because the land masses are holding stress. We can even understand why earthquakes are there in the coastal plain, because it is the weak areas. But why earthquake? But we have also seen that earthquake occurs in the peninsular area. Why it is so? What's the reason behind it? So peninsular area are the peninsular land masses are the oldest, okay. So when it was drifting, and when also it collided with the Eurasian plate, it developed some faults are the weak sections. So that is the reason why earthquake occurs in the peninsular block. Recently, some earth scientists have come up with a theory of emergence of a fault line and energy buildup along the fault line represented by the river Bhima near Lathur and Osmanabad near the Indian plate. National Geographical Laboratory, Geological Survey of India, Department of Meteorology, Government of India, along with the recently formed National Institute of Disaster Management, have made an intensive analysis of more than 1,200 earthquakes that have occurred in India in different years in the past, and based on these, they divided India into five earthquake zones. So all the nas- uh, Institute of Disaster Management, and other organization divided India into five zones, earthquake zones. Okay, first one is very high damage risk zone, high damage risk zone, moderate damage risk zone, low damage risk zone, and very low damage risk zone. Out of these, the first two zones had experienced some of the most devastating earthquakes in India. Okay, in table 7.2, 7.1, 7.3, where is 7.2? Okay, areas vulnerable to these earthquakes are northeast states, area to the north of Darbhanga and Araria along the Indo-Nepal border in Bihar, Arunachal West, Western Himachal Pradesh around Dharamsala, and Kashmir Valley in the Himalayan region, and Kutch, Gujarat. These are included in very high damage risk zone. Similarly, the remaining parts of Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, northern parts of Punjab, eastern parts of Haryana, Delhi, western Uttar Pradesh, and northern Bihar falls under the high damage risk zone. Remaining parts of the country fall under the moderate of very low damage risk zone. Most of the areas that can be considered safe from the stable land masses covered under the Deccan Plateau. So, under the Deccan Plateau, whichever states come, it's the most safest. Socio-environmental consequences of earthquake. The idea of an earthquake is often associated with fear and horror due to the scale, magnitude, and suddenness at which it spreads disasters on the surface of the earth without discrimination. It becomes a calamity when it strikes the area of high density of population. It not only damages and destroys the settlement, infrastructure, transport, and communication network, industries, and other development activities, but also robs the population of their material and socio-cultural gains that they have preserved over generation. So we are talking about the consequences of earthquake. Like when an earthquake occurs in a certain place, there's a damage of everything, humanity, human loss, and as well as tradition lost, socio-cultural loss. Why? For example, for in a certain area there are few houses, or there are houses, okay, they belong to a same culture, same tradition, and if a high intensity earthquake occurs there, what will happen? It will cause destruction, and maybe everyone may die. So it's a loss of a complete culture and tradition. So it renders them homeless, which puts an extra pressure and stress, particularly on the weak section economy of the developing countries. Okay, effects of earthquake have all encompassing disastrous effect on the area of their occurrence. Some of the important one are fissure settlements, cracking. Okay, fissure settlements, cracking, sliding, waves, hydrodynamic pressure. Okay, landslides, overturning, tsunami, liquefaction, buckling, earth pressure, collapse, chain effects, possible chain effects. Okay, so these are the darker one are the high damage risk zones, which are mainly mountainous area, and the high damage areas are near about that. Okay. Apart from these, earthquake also have some serious and far-reaching environmental consequences. Surface seismic wave produce fissures on the upper layers of the earth crust through which water and other volatile material gushes out. So, um, suppose there is a groundwater level, means water is seeping through the ground at some place. An earthquake occurs. There's a sudden break in the on the surface of the earth. So what happens, the water just gets out in the form of fissures, and what it brings out to the surface, it brings out the volatile materials which are inside it, which are inside the earth, inundating the neighboring areas. And what happens, due to earthquake, sometimes it will come out as a fissures and destroy the crops, okay. And sometimes when it comes out as a form of volcano, what happens, it destroys the complete vegetation and the area, okay. Earthquakes are also responsible for landslides, and often these cause obstruction in the flow of rivers and channel, resulting in the formation of reservoirs. Sometimes rivers also change their course, causing flood and other calamities in the affected areas. So what happens, sometimes due to earthquake, rivers also changes their path. Earthquake hazard mitigation. Unlike other disasters, the damage caused by earthquake are more devastating, since it also destroys most of the transport and communication links. Providing timely relief to the victims become difficult. It is not possible to prevent the occurrence of an earthquake, hence the best option is to emphasis on disaster preparedness and mitigation rather than curative measures. So earthquake is very sudden and it's out of our control. We can't control it. So what can we do? We can only take care of what happens after the earthquake, like providing medical aids to the to the survivors and taking care of them. Just we can do that. Establishing earthquake monitoring centers for regular monitoring and fast disseminations of information among the people in the vulnerable areas. Use of geographical positioning system can be of great help in monitoring the movement of tectonic plates. Preparing a vulnerability map of the country and dissemination of vulnerability risk information among the people, and educating them about the ways and means minimizing the adverse impacts of disasters. Modifying the house types and building designs in the vulnerable areas, and discouraging construction of high rise building, large industrial establishment and big urban centers in such areas. Finally, making it mandatory to adopt earthquake-resistant design and use light material in major construction activities in the vulnerable areas. So, what can we do? We can keep an eye on the seismograph, okay? Like if it is changing or whatever, we can monitor that. We can, uh, for some earthquake-prone areas, not we can just stay away from those areas. About constructing very tall buildings in such areas should be prohibited, and the use of earthquake friendly building should be there. So this is all about earthquake. So the next one is tsunami. Earthquake and volcanic eruption that cause the sea floor to move abruptly, resulting in sudden displacement of ocean water in form of high vertical waves, are called tsunami. So tsunami is a water disaster, okay? So how it happens? It happens when there's an earthquake in water bodies, okay? So when there is an earthquake in water bodies, that what happened is, uh, there is certain, like, wait, yeah. So this is water bodies, this is somewhat land, yeah, and this is land, okay. So what happens, the waves gets generated here, okay. So what will happen over, in the upside, that there will be a rise in water level, okay. There will be a, what we say, trough, or there will be a trough, okay. So what happens with the air movement, means the wind forces will what okay, so that this rise will again try to just contemplate to its original position. So what will happen, the same level of this will crest will develop. Okay, but what will happen, there will be a pressure of air upon that. Okay, and again this will be of much higher wavelength, like initially this, then this, then it will be just increasing and increasing. And what will happen when it will reach to the when it will reach to the coastal areas, means like this is a what is happening, like this is the thing, this is the water bodies. Okay, so it will rise, then this, and when the land is ending over here, here is land. So what will happen, a high altitude of this will be seen. Okay, that will be that will certainly be disastrous to the coastal things. Okay, so earthquake and volcanic eruption, and this can this what we say, tsunami can be due to earthquake, tectonic one, and the other one will be volcanic. Okay, earthquake and volcanic eruption that cause the sea floor to move abruptly, resulting in sudden displacement of ocean water in form of high vertical waves, are called tsunami. Harbor waves, why harbor waves? Because it will affect the coastal area. Harbor is a place where ship moves. Okay, or seismic sea waves. Seismic waves, we know it is used for earthquake, and it is occurring in sea. So seismic sea wave, normally the seismic waves cause only one instantaneous vertical wave, but after the initial disturbance a series of after waves are created. Okay, what was I talking about? Crest and trough. Okay, high crest and low trough. Okay, so the word are interchanged. In order to restore the water level, the speed of water, the speed of wave in the ocean depends upon the depth of water. It is more in the shallow water than in the ocean deep. As a result of this, the impact of tsunami is less over the ocean and more near the coast, where they cause large scale devastations. Therefore, a ship at sea is not much affected by tsunami, and it is difficult to detect a tsunami in the deeper parts of sea. So when there will be okay, yeah, on land it will be more disastrous and it can be detected. But if it is occurring in water bodies and a ship is also moving upon that, it will not feel it. Okay, it is so because over deep water the tsunami has very long wavelength, because it has very long wavelength inside it. Okay, but over the land we can clearly see it. Thus a tsunami wave raises the ship only a meter or two, and each rise and fall takes several minutes, as opposed to this, when a tsunami enters shallow water, its wavelength gets reduced and the period remains unchanged. When increases the wave height, sometimes this height can be up to 15 meters or more, which suppose 15 meters, like 5-story building, which causes large scale destruction along the shores. And what happens, that that for once the tsunami is there, after it leaves, what happens, many waterborne diseases are seen. Okay, thus these are also called shallow water waves. Tsunamis are frequently observed along the Pacific Ring of Fire, particularly along the coast of Alaska, Japan, Philippines, and other islands of Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, and India, etc. After reaching the coast, the tsunami waves release enormous energy stored in them, and water flows turbulently onto the land, destroying port cities and towns, structures, buildings, and other settlement. Since the coastal areas are densely populated the world over, and these are also center of intense human activities, the loss of life and property is likely to be much higher by a tsunami as compared to other natural hazards.